This is the second time I've recorded this because I forgot to click record on my camera. Welcome guys to another video. So today we're going to be doing a Lightroom editing tutorial on how I edit my images for Instagram or for whatever. So we're just going to jump in and show you guys how I edit. So let's go. This is the first image here that we edited. I'm just going to show you the before and after. So this is the before on the left and the after on the right. So all we really did in this image here was make them colors stand out, really show off the face more because that's the main subject, and emphasize the colors a little bit. So we're going to show you how to do that right now. So let's just reset here on the image. We're going to do this without using presets. Well, this first one I'll use a preset. So presets are great just to kind of give you a basis of what your theme is. So we're going to look here at my presets I've been making. They're not polished yet, they're not for sale. So I like this golden rush one here. The skin tones are a bit too warm, so we're just going to fix that up. So firstly, select the preset. We're going to fix the framing 4x5 because that's the Instagram kind of grid standard, I think. So the skin tones, we like the image how warm it is at the moment. But all we want to do is just fix them skin tones. So we're going to come here in the orange because that's mainly where your skin tones are. So if you come down, scroll down on the right side here to your HSL color sliders. All we want to do is just take a little bit of that saturation out of the oranges here. You can always move the sliders up and down. We want it about where it was at, pretty neutral. We can add a little bit of saturation into it. But when you go back up here, turn these highlights down. They're too bright. You can see on the flowers here and on the face, you can really see that harshness on the light if we turn it back up. Especially on the top of the flowers here, they're very blown out. So we're gonna turn them highlights down. We're just gonna tweak that the exposure back down a little bit. We want the shadows up a touch so you can bring out some of the facial features in the foreground. Then we're going to go back down to the oranges here because they're still a little bit blown out. We're just going to desaturate that a touch. We're going to grab our brush tool, go over here over the lips, just go over, and all we want to do is just bring up the saturation just a little bit, not too much because it's pretty saturated, this image already, and bring up the shadows just a little bit. We can also just take the clarity and the texture down just a touch, just so it doesn't show off the cracks as much, but already that's pretty simple, pretty easy. That was using a preset. Again, really showing off that teal and the orangish kind of vibe with the yellows and the blues here. So that's kind of the main look we're going for in these images and in these edits. So we're going to jump into the next one, and I won't use a preset. I'll just show you how I would go through it just by using just the normal sliders and without clicking a button. So we'll do that now. We'll jump in and edit the next one. So the next image here, you can see this is the second image. So I've already edited this as well with my sliders and everything beforehand, as I said before. But as you can see, left and right. So as you can see on the right side, that's what we're aiming to achieve. Show off the face a little bit, bring out them nice colors, get rid of them highlights, and really emphasize the subject and show all the colors as you can, but not overdo it. So we're just going to reset the image again, and we'll get into it. So firstly, again, we're going to just crop the image down to 4x5 to how you'd have it on Instagram. Frame it so the subject is in the center of the frame. You don't want too much negative space, it looks weird. So get it nice and centered. You might show off a little bit of the negative space, but not too much. So that looks pretty good where it is. Now secondly, you can see in the image here, all along the eye and the chest here, you can see the lighting is so blown out. So we're just going to drop this highlight tab all the way down to -100. So you can just see the difference already, like from 0 to there. You can just see the face so much better just like that. Secondly, we want to bring up the shadows just the tiniest bit. We don't want the hair to be too harsh. As you can see, if I bring it up, you can just see the hair. The hair gets too involved, so we can We can even just leave it standard, and then we can also just tweak the whites a little bit, turn them down just a touch, bring the blacks up a little bit. Then we want to go here to the tone curve. Usually in the tone curve you want to make a nice little S, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't need to do it. I'm just going to bring up a little bit here in the fade. Bring this back down a touch. Bring this back in the center. Bring up the highlights just a little bit. So that looks fairly well exposed in my opinion. I wouldn't do too much tweaking to that now. We're just going to change the colors around a little bit. So what we're going to do is, starting with the temperature, it's a little bit, we want it a little bit warmer than what it is. So we're just going to make it just a touch warmer, just to bring out the skin tones. We don't want to get too far deep into the colors sliders, because you can get lost in it fairly quickly. Secondly, we just want to do, we're going to get into the yellows, so that's the main kind of, the main attraction in this image. So we want to make them this more orangish kind of color. That looks pretty good where it is. We're just going to turn the luminance up just a little bit. Saturation's fine, we don't want to oversaturate it. Then we're going to jump into the greens here and really get rid of these, make them a bit more mute. So we're just going to just desaturate them, change the hue to more of that yellow orange side, so it's not so green. As you can see, if I change it here, it's too bleh. I don't like it. Then we're going to go over here in the blue and really emphasize the blue. So you're going to get that blue and that teal and orange kind of vibe going. So what we want to do is bring that slider down a little bit. You can see in the shirt down the bottom the color change. We're just going to bring that down a little bit. Bring the saturation up just a touch. And I'm fairly happy with how that image is at the moment. The one thing I would do now is go up here to your brush tool, or I just said adjustment brush. You can always click K on your keyboard. What we want to do is just zoom in up here onto her lips, get the brush the right size, make sure it's selected, and just brush over the lips here. And all we want to do is just add a little bit of saturation into it, not too much. Bump up the shadows just a little bit, and then we want to bring the texture down and the clarity down just a little bit as well, just so it smoothens out just the cracks in the lips. And you can do that with anything. So again, that looks so much better. We'll go here to the before and after. You can really tell it wasn't spot on of how I did that before, but you can really tell the differences. Just really getting rid of them oranges. You can really get rid of them highlights in the image, make the colors pop, make the face nice and bright. What we can also do here is just grab the circle radiant filter, get it the shape of a face. About that, you can also just increase it a little bit here and there. Oops, where'd it go? And what you can do is just make it a little bit bigger. Then you can just invert it so it's the inside of the circle. And then all you can do is just bring up the shadows just a little bit, just to kind of get rid of this dark spot here. But you don't want it too much, probably a bit too much, about there. But other than that, that's pretty spot on of how I would edit it, just by simple Lightroom editing with the sliders and stuff. So I'm going to jump into the very last image here, and I'll show you guys how I do it. So this one here is a landscape picture. You can obviously tell the before and after, left and right. So it's not too much of a dramatic difference, but again, really emphasizing the main colors, the blues, the oranges, the yellows, sorry, and getting the pop, make the skin tones nice, get rid of them harsh lighting, because we were shooting in the middle of the day. And a good tip is also, if you're shooting during the day, make sure you pick up one of these. You can get them cheap or expensive if whatever your budget is. Just a little ND filter, so they just go over your lens, as you can see there. Goes over, cuts out all the harsh lighting. You can probably tell in here in the blinds how the lighting changes. So it's perfect for they're made for shooting in the daylight, harsh lighting, to eliminate that. But obviously where we were shooting, it was a bit too bright for that. The main flaw you can see in this is that it's very blown out on the face here, and on the flowers you can see a little bit starting to become blown out. So we're just going to drop them highlights completely gone. 10 times better already. You can see the face is so much better exposed. So we're just going to bring up the shadow just a little bit. Here we're going to make the image just a touch warmer, bring up them skin tones, really make them pop. We're going to add just a little bit of contrast, not too much, otherwise it'll look too oversaturated. We are going to leave the whites and the blacks where they were. They look pretty good where they were. Then all we're going to do is come down here to the tone curve, bring a little bit of fade into the image. Again, bring this back down to where it was. We don't have to tweak this too much because I'm pretty happy with how it's exposed. We might even just bring this back, back it up a little bit. Then next what we want to do is the colors. So I'm pretty happy with how it's exposed. The one thing I would do is just grab a little circle radial filter here, just go over the face, invert it again so it's the inside here, and just bring up them shadows just a touch, just to kind of show off the face. Alright, so the next thing, head over to the colors slider here. We're going to select the yellows. We're going to do the yellows first in the image, get these the flowers nice and to the right color. So we're just going to bring them over here to the warmer side of the yellow. We don't want them that real harsh bright yellow. Bring the luminance up just a touch, not too much. We're going to just leave the saturation where it is. We don't want it too bright. Then we're going to go over here to the greens again, eliminate them, bring them over to the left, turn the saturation down a little bit if you want to. We're going to go back up here a little bit actually. Oh no, we're going to go to the oranges here. Just take a little bit of color off and a little bit of luminance off, because you can see the highlights are starting to come back a little bit here on the face. I'm going to go over here in the blues, because you can see the blue in the shirt, orange and blue, like the orangish teal vibe we're still going for. I'm going to bring the slider over to the left a bit. I'm going to bring up a little bit of saturation. We don't want it to look too distorted. You can kind of see it starting to come over here on the fence. And we want a little bit of luminance in here as well. So that's all I would really do for this image. Again, I would go over here into the brush tool, zoom in. I think it's control plus on your keyboard. I think it's probably command plus on your if you're on Mac. Come down here to the lips, just again go over them with your brush, and then all we're going to do is just bring up the saturation just a little bit, around 12-16 in this image is pretty good, and just the shadows just a touch, and then we're just going to again drop the clarity just a little bit and the texture just a little bit so it's nice and smooth. And then that's all I would really do for this image. You can see again here the before and after, simple yet effective. Again, the main thing is you want to drop them highlights if they're too harsh, completely cut them out of the image, because it really just blows it out of proportion. It looks looks gross, and you really want to just make them colors pop and make them look realistic, kind of go for that vibe you're going for. So, and that is all for this Lightroom tutorial. So if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. Turn the notification bell on if you don't want to miss any more videos coming in the future. Leave a comment if you need any help in Lightroom, or if you just want to ask any simple questions about photography or filmmaking or anything. I'll be more than happy to answer you. So that's all for today's video, guys. Again, thank you for all the support, all the subscribers so far, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.